start with this question. It's really hard for you to understand how scientists classify organisms because they've already been classified. You know the name of each type of organism, what group they fall under, all these things. But if you think back to how they had to do this process, it was very, very, very tedious. Not to mention, think of the first time somebody saw an elephant. I mean, that could look like a monster. I mean, you're walking and all of a sudden you see this thing. So first we're going to learn about the branch of biology that's linked to classification. And it's called taxonomy. What do you think goes on in classifying an organism? What's involved?
Studying it.
Studying it. What about it?
The size.
Size. I think that's probably okay. Well, to classify, you have to, group it, name it, and identify it. Okay, that's what's involved. You're gonna group it, name it, and identify. Or identify first, name, then group. Because classifying is basically grouping. And then you're going to come up with a universal common name. Anybody know what that name is called? The universal common name? It's in Latin. Good. We're going to talk about that in a moment. So the first person that actually classified organisms wasn't even a scientist. Does anybody know who that is? I mean, he was because he ended up being categorized as one. He was more like a philosopher. Close. Close. I'll give you one letter. He grouped all organisms into two groups. What were they? Look at the picture. You were either this or that. Plants or animals. That's it. You either fell under a plant group or you fell under an animal group. Eventually, we realized that's just not real. Organisms fall under many groups. So after Aristotle, Linnaeus came into play, and he developed a system that we still use today. His system was so great that it's never been adopted or changed. It's called the Linnaeus system of classification, and it uses two main characteristics. We name the organism, and then we organize them into categories. How do we name organisms? Well, we call the organism's name, it's what? Like name. Well, it comes from the genus and the species, as you guys mentioned. We call it the scientific name. It's in Latin, as Christopher said. And anybody know what binomial nomenclature means? Bi means two. Nomial being named, so it's a two-part name. Well, nomenclature being named. All right, so we write the name. The first part of the name is the what? Genus. And the first letter of the word is, look at it, capitalized. The second part of the name is species. And the entire word is lowercase letters. The entire name is either underlined or italicized. So for example, if I was going to write the word Panthera pardus, I can either write it with underlined and the first letter of the genus capitalized, the rest of the word lowercase, or italicized. And I'm aware that it's very difficult to see italicized print on a test, so most likely you're going to be looking for the underlined correct wording, if that makes sense. Part two of what?
Classification.
Good. Part two of classification and grouping organisms. The categories they actually get broader category species into broader categories. So species is going to be the most minimal of categories, and as you go up, they get broader. That means more diversity. And if you look at the picture, you could see that. As I was saying before, there's your panther, and it's in the same group with what? If you look at this picture.
A lion.
A lion. And you get into the next group, you see how the organisms start, to grow in numbers. So who knows this order? Say it.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus.
Correct. Kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Who learned it another way? King Philip came over for gumbo soup. Who can remember that? Who's King Philip and what's gumbo soup? So close your eyes for a minute. Actually, look at the paper and say it nice and uniform. Ready? Kingdom,
Phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
now try closing your eyes.
Kingdom, phylum, class, order,
So now if you can't say that, realize you have to know this order. This order is going to be really important on the test because you have to know about relatedness. As you get closer to species, you could draw an arrow, the organisms become more related. Okay, as you go this way, obviously look at this picture. You see a human there in the middle? We're in the same kingdom as a jellyfish. I know I look nothing like a jellyfish. Okay, but as you go closer, we are in the same class as a cat and a dolphin. And yeah. So we're going to learn about how they came up with these groups.
phylum